Hi, thank you for joining tonight. My name is Christina and welcome to Alice's Table. Tonight we're going to make a water-based floral arrangement. But before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself and why I joined Alice's Table. So I've actually been working with flowers since I was about 14 years old. I went to an agricultural high school and then I went to an agricultural college. And then graduating college, I jumped into a different profession based on what was available at the time. And now I've been working in insurance for almost 10 years. But I've always kept floral design and gardening in my back pocket as my passion. And Alice's Table came across to me recently and gave me an opportunity to now share my passion and skills and knowledge that I've learned over time with you tonight. And I also do private events for birthdays, weddings, bridal showers, do-it-yourself wedding events for centerpieces, bouquets. I'm so happy to do an event for you or a friend. Let me know at the end of the night. We can talk about it and maybe set something up, or you can email me and I can send you more information to learn later. But anyway, I joined Alice's Table as a way for me to get back into working with flowers and also help support my family. I recently got married and bought a house, so it's important to me to continue to keep working and stay busy, but I wanted to do that with something that drove me and I had more passion for, and then Alice's Table came about. So here I am today. And tonight we're going to be making a spring arrangement. I was going to try to make one of the Alice's Table recipes, but unfortunately what was available to me in a quality that was deserving to you was not in the fitting recipes that Alice's Table had available. So we're going to be making a custom spring arrangement. We're going to be using some beautiful flowers, locally purchased. I'm going to teach you a little bit about the flowers and their specific techniques for arranging, prepping them for the vase, and also some tips on how to keep them lasting longer at home. And what we have here tonight is you're going to notice that you have your vase. This is a 5-inch glass cylinder vase, and you have your floral tools inside. You have your floral shears that we're going to need to cut the flowers, and our rose strippers that you're going to need to strip the roses, and we'll walk through how that works when we get to it. Also, you're going to all have your own Alice's Table apron to keep your clothes clean. Obviously, you can adjust it or as you need it. So, getting started, everyone put their apron on, and I'll start to walk through what else we have to work with tonight. All right. So, how we're going to get started tonight is we're going to prep the vase. You all have your 5-inch cylinder vases, and what you're first going to do is you're going to take your waterproof ribbon. This is cut to about 14 inches to fit in your vase, like so. You can purchase this on Amazon if you want it for home, and you can reuse this. I would rinse it off really well with hot water and let it air dry. But you can use that again if you wish, only a couple times because it can get worn out over time. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to take some of this floral Oasis tape, and this is a waterproof tape that we're going to create a grid on your vase, and this is going to give us a base to build the arrangement so that way you don't flop, the arrangement doesn't flop over. So I know, like most of you, probably get an arrangement and a bouquet from someone who cares about you, and you take it home and you put in an arrangement to actually design it, and it all kind of flops in different directions. This will help prevent that. It will help give us the stability we need to build our design. And this tape is easy to work with. It's just very sticky. Sorry. So all of you should have a roll of this tape, or share with your neighbor if there's not enough at your table. But what you're going to do is you're going to first start by, sorry, I keep losing this here. making your grid, you're going to make a tic-tac-toe board, and make sure you pull it really tight or else it will kind of like sink in. And if you need help, let me know. I can come around and give you a hand when I'm done with this one. The tape is clear and you're not really going to notice it at all because our greens and our flowers are going to be hanging around the arrangement a little bit here. But as you can see, I have a tic-tac-toe grid on my vase. Alright. Also on your table you all have a water pitcher full of water, and I added some floral food in here. This floral food is a preservative and a food, so it has both a preservative and a sugar to feed it, so it helps the flowers live longer. The floral food does not dissolve in cold water, so you want to use a room temperature water, and this has already been sitting here, so this is perfect temperature, all mixed up and ready to be poured into your vase. Now when you pour the water into your vase, I would only fill it about a little less than halfway, so when you go home it doesn't splash all over the place. And then when you get home, you can make sure you add in more to really give your water, your vase some water. Your flowers will keep drinking, so it's important to keep the vase watered throughout the life of the vase while you have it at home. Hydrangeas that we're going to work with today, they drink a lot of water, so it's important to keep adding water, or else you might not have a very long-lasting arrangement. All right, moving on. So moving on, we're going to be greening our vase. This is going to build the base to also keep the flowers stable as well, and add greens. Also fill the vase so that way you don't have to use a ton of flowers. They give it a different texture, stability. This here is really ruscus. You can see it's a large branch, and you're probably wondering, how am I going to put this in my vase and make it look pretty? We're going to actually be cutting this into sections and using it in segments. That's the good thing about this. You can have one piece of greenery get you like 3 to 4 pieces depending on the vase you're using. And we don't want the greens to come out too far, but we want to give them enough height to build the, not height of the arrangement, but the stability and the base size of it. I say the diameter. So I'm going to take so all of you will have your ruscus on your table. And then when you pick it up, you'll notice all the lateral shoots. If you were working with a foam-based arrangement, you could cut each of these lateral shoots and use each one, because the foam arrangements are all very stable, and you won't have to worry about getting them too deep down into the vase. But we're dealing with a water-based arrangement, so we want to make sure that the stem gets submerged into the water. You want to also make sure all of the leaves get removed below the water line. With this particular green, it's okay if it gets a little bit below because it is more of a waxy leaf, so it's not going to deteriorate and grow bacteria as fast as, say, like a flower, like a tulip petal or a rose leaf. So what we want to do is cut this into pieces. I'm going to start with the top. So if you grab your Israeli ruscus by the top and then kind of look at it next to your vase and decide what height you want your arrangement to come out a little bit. You know, this is the diameter of the arrangement and the base structure. So I'm going to go down. Each one of these are called nodes, and these are where the lateral branches come off. I like to cut at the node, and then you have a fresh start for a new arrangement. I think this height will be good for me. And then I'm going to also look at this, and I'm probably going to cut the bottom 2 branches off. That way we don't have it in the way. So that's good. I'm gonna cut it to the next node here. I'm gonna put that one in the middle because it's kind of long, and I'm gonna kind of put one of the leaves under the tape to kind of balance it a little bit more, keep it a little stable. So now going back to the top, again you want to find something. I'm going to put this piece more at an angle going the other direction, and I'm going to go back down to about here. And I'm going to cut this bottom one off. I'm going to insert this one at an angle like this here. Actually, that's a little wild for me, so I'm going to cut this one off too. Cut it a little shorter. Does anyone need any help with their greening? If you see a neighbor doing it a way that you like, ask them how they did it. If you want me to come around and show you, I can certainly do that as well. Just raise your hand. So this is Israeli ruscus. There's also an Italian ruscus. It's a lateral, or one shoot. These have multiple laterals that offshoot. So these are really great for building a base because you can take one and make many, and it gives you a lot of direction, so you have a lot of different branches to balance the other branches. And when you have them kind of come out like this, you have a left shoot and a right shoot. You can put that one in the middle and you have one go out on each side. You can put that in an angle and have them both come out each way. My arrangement is kind of one-sided. So I'm going to try it coming out this way so I can have more come over here. And if you want to come look at mine, you can come look at mine, or I can come around and look at yours too. So this one's kind of funky. It's definitely not long enough for this branch to not be under the water, so I'm going to cut that one off. And then I have one shoot, and then I look at my arrangement from the top and I see a spot that might need it right here. So I'm going to put that one there. And I like to put them all through the middle and then make them long because that gives you more surface area covered, but you have more holes open all throughout the arrangement to keep adding in more flowers that we have here to work with. All right. So if you have any leftover greens, like these little parts here at home, I think it's really fun if you're making if you're making an arrangement at home with foam, floral foam. Like I said, you can save these little ones when you're working with floral foam, but in the water-based, they're not long enough to actually be able to drink. But at home, you can also use things like this to lay around your table when you're having dinner. It gives you this nice environment, like you're outside. It's just fun. I like to do that with my extra greens. I like to lay them around my house. I feel like I'm in the jungle. All right, I actually forgot my cleaning bucket, so I've got this bucket for my scraps, but I'm going to save these pieces for later. So the ones that I'm going to save, I'm going to put on my flower table. All right, so now we're going to start with our flowers, and I'm going to start with the mini green hydrangeas. They're one of my favorite flowers to use when I'm designing. They're a small hydrangea, and hydrangeas are beautiful, but they're huge, and sometimes they're just too much for a small arrangement. So this is when our little brother comes into play. All right. So the hydrangeas, what I like to do with these is I like to have kind of one on each side, and I like to use these to develop our width, how high and how tall. If you want them more like, I'm going to have mine probably about 2 inches above the baseline, and I want one on each side. So hydrangeas like to drink a lot of water, and we obviously don't want all of these big leaves in our arrangement. So I'm going to actually just pop these off and put them in my bucket here, all the way up to the top, but leave the top 2 small ones. The top leaves actually help the hydrangea drink. They draw water up the stem here, and also hydrangeas drink from the top, so you can water them just like that. I like to spray them once a day when I have a hydrangea arrangement. When they are with other flowers, you want to be a little careful about not to soak all the other flowers because they are sensitive to rot. But the hydrangeas love a good spray, so it's good to spritz them up. That's why we like to work with them first too, because we can really hydrate them before putting them in the vase. Another technique with hydrangeas is when you're cutting them is most flowers, or almost all flowers, when you put them in an arrangement, you're cutting at an angle, which you can do with your greens as well, but the greens don't drink as much. Those greens dry out and live and look pretty longer than, say, a fresh flower. Once this dries out, it flops, it dies, you can't keep it in there anymore. With the hydrangeas and most flowers, you want to cut at an angle, and what that does is it gives more surface area for the flower to drink. It prevents the flower from resting on the base of the vase, preventing water from building up, and also it by giving it more surface area to drink, it gives it more time. When you cut this starts to callus and heal, and then it blocks water from coming in. So when you give it more surface area, you're giving it a longer time to heal before it stops drinking water. I also like to recut these every couple days when I have them at home, but when you tape your arrangements, sometimes it's tricky to do that. So give them a good spray when you're walking by them. But for these, I want you to look at your base and see how high you want your arrangement to be. General rule of thumb for arrangements is 1.5 times the height of the base. But you can go shorter, but you don't want to go too big. That's the whole principle of that. You don't want to have a big, tall arrangement in a small container. It looks uneven. It's not going to have enough water. It's not going to have enough structure and stability for a tall arrangement unless it's in foam, which is something more for like an event. So this one, I'm going to probably have the hydrangea come out at an angle about 2 inches above the baseline. So I'm going to have to recut this a little bit. I like to cut at the nodes because they're bulky and they're in the way a lot of the time, so I'm just going to cut at the node at an angle. And then another trick with hydrangeas that you don't want to do with other flowers, but hydrangeas, you can actually cut up the stem and create a crack the stem, and it allows the hydrangea more area to drink. So if these hydrangeas are heavy, you're going to want to angle them in through the middle hole and see kind of how, and then step back and see if that's where you want it to be. I think mine's a little out too far, so I'm going to go take it back out, recut it at an angle, recrack my stem. A little uneven and easy. Alright, I'm going to put it back through the middle hole. Sometimes your greens will shift. Feel free to keep moving them back where you want them. You can also add more greens later. So I think that's a good height for me. If you want to come look, or if you want to go lower, higher, it's your arrangement, your creation. But general rule of thumb is about 1.5 times the height. If you want that to be your height, or if you want it to be low, feel free to adjust it as you want. So I'm going to grab my second hydrangea. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look at the base and determine kind of where I want it. I'm going to have this one opposite side at a different angle in, same height. So that's probably a little too long. And then crack the stem. Alright, so that's how I'm going to make my height. My greens are a little out of control now that I've got my hydrangea in, so I'll probably have to add a little more. But before I do that, you can all come up and get your 2 hydrangeas. They're right over here on the table. I ended up using the last 2 here, but alright, so moving on to our next flower. Next we're going to put in our stalk. Actually, I'm sorry, we're not going to put the stalk in. That's going to go later. We're going to put our roses in next. So we have 3 roses for this arrangement. Roses come shipped from South America, California, Central America, they're all over, but bottom line is these roses are being shipped from very far places for a long period of time, but when we get them as florists, they come in all dehydrated in a box, sometimes all smushed up, wrapped up in bunches of 20. So when we get them, we hydrate them, and then once they've hydrated, we like to use them a little bit later, but you're going to, fortunately, when you buy roses, you'll be going to the grocery store or to the local florist. They'll already be hydrated and ready to use. These ones I've hydrated for several hours now, so they're ready to go. So roses come with obviously tons of leaves and thorns. I like to take all the leaves off. Sometimes you can leave some, but I think for this arrangement it will be better to take them all off. And you want to make sure that none of the leaves get below the water line because bacteria can grow. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our rose strippers. You're going to hold them in your right or left hand, whichever is your dominant. And you're going to just strip the roses. And if it's tough, you can kind of slide up and down like this. Alright, so we're also going to have to remove the guard petals. The guard petals are not the green ones kind of at the bottom, but the first layer of colored petals. When you remove those, it gives the rose an opportunity to open to reach its full bloom potential. And your roses might look tight, but they're new, and I can see that those are the guard petals because they're always a little different colors. So your roses still have more time to open, but they're real tight. So I want it to look a little bit more open for this. So I'm going to blow on it. Makes a huge difference. It was so tight like this, now it's all open. That will also give it time to open a little more. And if your rose, say you have a party tomorrow and you're making arrangements tonight, put them in warm water and keep them in a room that is kind of sunny. It will cause the flowers to really absorb the water and open. So warm water is key to get flowers to open. If you don't want them to open that fast, keep them away from direct sunlight. Keep your heat down to like 67 or lower. Keep your flowers real nice for a while. And don't keep them near a heater or a fan or anywhere that's going to cause them to blow. That causes them to breathe more, causes them to lose more water. So I'm going to take my 3 roses and I'm going to put them kind of like down the middle. And I want them to be shorter than my hydrangeas. So the first one I'm going to do at an angle. You want to measure it by kind of holding it by your vase, seeing it the height that you want. I always like to cut it twice. I like to cut it a little taller, just so I don't cut it too short, because once you cut it too short, you can't go back. And we only have enough roses just for what we got. When you do an event for a wedding, you always want to order extra, because flowers often come damaged or missing or dead. So, alright. So I'm going to cut that a little shorter. Roses you do not want to crack the stem. That will damage the flower. So I'm going to combine it like that. I think my dog wants to come in. Let the dog in. This rose has actually started to open up a lot more. I'm still going to remove the guard petals just because I want them to open up more. Spartacus is joining us. Maybe not. He's a little rambunctious. Alright. Remember your rose strippers, kind of gently hold them. Don't hold them tight. You just want to loosely shake them. Alright. So I'm going to hold this one. I want this one to kind of be at the top, straight up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one so it's a little taller than what I want. So I'm going to try it again. When you put them in, you want to put the things in gently and kind of feel around with the base. This one's open, so I'm not going to blow in this one. I'm going to let that one go in. But remember, cut it at an angle because you don't want it to lay flat when you're putting it in straight. Alright, so now I'm going to add one more rose. I'm just going to cut that one off. Remember when you're designing that you always want to take off anything that doesn't look good. Sometimes flowers look beautiful, but they have a damaged leaf or a damaged petal. You can pull those off. You don't have to leave them. It's important to make them look as pretty as you want or leave them as natural as you want, whatever is important to you. So, alright, so I'm going to put this one in at an angle. Remember to do it gently. You don't want your flowers to really bang in, smushing each other around, banging each other all around. Alright, so next I'm going to add the spray roses. Oh, sorry. Please come up and get your roses. And if you need help putting them in or want to come and look at mine, feel free to come up now or let me know if you need me to come over. Thank you. Alright, so moving on, we're going to look at the spray roses. We're going to use, depending on how many come on the actual stem, we're going to use 2 to 3 stems of spray roses. These spray roses are prickly, so be careful. And you can use your rose strippers on these as well, but only to where they kind of end. It might be easier with these ones because they're a little thicker and more wild and bent to just trim off the bottom leaves. So again, remember, remove any leaves. Some of these are really long, like this one. I'm going to use this one on its own. I'm going to cut that one right off and leave that there for later. And same thing with this stem right here. Roses, spray roses are awesome because they have a lot of laterals, which are just pieces of the branches with the flower. They just come right off. And On the spray roses, sometimes you get them all tight at the top, or you'll have plenty of laterals all throughout the stem, and that is a really great opportunity to have some of these kind of dug down into the arrangement. So I think this looks good like that with the 4 blooms still on it. And there's a lot of thorns on these ones, so be very careful and pick them off. You can use your stripper once you take off more, but it's not, this one's kind of tough because the stems aren't straight. So just be careful. You can work with gloves, but it's really challenging to work with gloves. But with the spray roses, you can blow on these too. And you can also peel off the guard petals, or you don't have to, because sometimes they're just really cute when they're all tight. But if you really want them to open, you can peel off some of the outside guard petals and give them another blow to really blow out the interior petals. I really like these 2 colors together because they're so similar, but these are just a little darker. So it's going to add some depth, and I'm going to put these kind of in between where the flowers are meeting the hydrangeas, on the other side like that. So, spray roses are awesome to work with for boutonnieres too when you're doing a wedding. I love using them on boutonnieres. I've used 2 with like a little bit of a filler flower. It's amazing. I love it. And I've had a lot of compliments on those when I make those. So this one I'm going to put at an angle coming on this side. So you're going to see that there's a gap here and a gap here, and that's where I want to put my spray roses. So you'll see hydrangea, rose, spray rose. Hydrangea, rose, spray rose, rose in the middle. So then I'm going to angle this in from the outside. So this one can go kind of low, and you know, this one is coming really low, so I kind of want to cut that off, but it's just not long enough, so I'm going to leave it. And find the best hole that you can enter it in where it's stable and it's at the angle you want it. So here, I'm going to put that just like that. And then I have 2 stems that are perfect just for the side. And remember to cut at an angle. That one's going to go down here. And that one's going to go down there. Beautiful. Look at that. Love it. Alright. So I'm going to grab another spray rose. I'm going to grab this one. I like to let you pick your own flowers. That's why I haven't laid them out at your tables. I think it's fun to really, depending on what your personal design preferences. Some people like tight, compact arrangements. Some people like to have it round, mounded, roundy. I like those a lot. I tend to do that without even thinking sometimes, so I have to try to be a little wild. Also, it's really fun to make an arrangement that's round, kind of flowy, or something that has something tall in the middle. Spray roses can be taller in the middle too. I love to do that. So remember to cut off all of your, be careful of the thorns. These ones are smaller and more vicious. And trim off any leaves that are below the waterline. And petals. I'm going to cut the last lateral off as a side shoot, but I'm going to leave all of these here, and I'm going to go on this side, put it on an angle here. So I'm going to cut 2 in here. I actually think that needs to be a little shorter, so I'm just going to take a little bit off. Awesome. And I have 1 to work with here. So I'm going to do that there. Alright. Next I'm going to add, I have 2 stems of stock. Stock comes in a lot of different colors. This one comes from Holland. This is a beautiful spring flower. Very delicate looking to the, when you get real close. The flowers are very delicate, and sometimes the bottom shoots will brown quicker, so you can always remove those. Remove all of these funky colored or funky shaped petals or leaves. I don't like this stalk's leaves in the arrangement, so I'm going to pull all those off. Cut any stems that don't have a flower off them, that are like just little. It helps keep the pulling in and out smooth when you don't like where you put it, like I do pull off. This one I'm going to kind of have come up at an angle, more towards the center, and kind of wedge it down right in the middle. If you want to come up and look, you'll see I have a little spot right here in the middle that's perfect for this. This stalk has multiple shoots, so I might not even need the second one. So let's see, all right, a little shorter. So I want this one, I want it to come up about that high, so that might be a really good height for the cut. And I'm going to put it through the middle, but at an angle, so it goes in kind of this way to the left, my left, just like that. Gorgeous. All right, so I think I might put the other stalk in, but this stalk, I'm going to kind of have more at the base. I'd say right in the middle as well. Kind of like more depth, out a little bit. And I don't like this piece right here. So anything you don't like or that looks kind of, you can cut it right off. Remember to peel all those leaves off. Unless you like them, feel free to leave them on. I don't like this stock leaves, I don't know why. Looks like something you want to eat more than look at. Alright, so this one, so kind of you can spin your arrangement around and look where you want to put things. That's what I like to do the most. Alright. Now feel around where it's easiest to kind of smush it in. Alright, that looks great. I like that spot. Alright, so next we're going to put in our red tulips. Oops, sorry. Now, I forget this part. Everyone please come up and get your stalk. Pick out what you'd like. If you see brown petals at the bottom, don't worry about those. Peel them right off. Throw them in your bucket. You don't have to save those for later or anything, but we got some space left for our tulips, and then we have a little bit of eucalyptus to add in and some blue thistle. So we're going to put in 3 red tulips. Tulips will continue to grow in the water after you cut them, unlike a lot of other plants. So remember that when you put it in, because tomorrow it's going to be a little bit taller. They can grow up to 2 inches in the water, and they're one of my favorite flowers. So, all right, I'm going to kind of put the 2 right in the center, and at different heights. The red gives this arrangement a little bit different depth, and the tulip leaves give it a different texture. When you're stripping your leaves, leave 1 at the top. This gives a different texture, like I said, to the arrangement. And remember to look at your arrangement and see where your holes are and where you want to put it. You don't have to do this mirroring mine, but I like to also cut it along the side. I think I'm going to cut here. I'm going to kind of go short because it's going to be taller tomorrow. I hope you like that. And they also grow towards the light, so remember if you're putting them near like a window, natural light, they're going to grow in that direction. A lot of plants do that. I think I actually want to keep them all together. I think sometimes it's fun to keep flowers together, and a lot of florists back in the day were always very stuck on keeping things in 3s, but it's 2019, I'm all about whatever you like, and I personally think that it's fun to keep things together. You can keep them in 3s, or you can keep the 3s separated, you can keep 2s together, you can keep 1 together. It's all how you feel and all what you think. I'm going to put 3 tulips together right here because I think that's going to look really pretty. But you can look, or you can ask me to come around when it's your turn to pick out your flowers, and I'd be happy to show you what I think. Or you want to put it in, I can come tell you if I think it looks nice. Remember to cut at an angle and leave the top stem for a different texture. Alright, I'll leave that right like that. Alright, so everyone please feel free to come up and get your 3 tulip. I have red, and if you want to do yellow for a different variety, feel free to get a different color. Remember that tulips will grow, so as you're putting them in, think about what height you want them, and I'll come around and show you. Also, when you're making your arrangements, it's important to remember where you're putting it. Is it going on a center table? Do you want it to look the same all the way around? Do you want it to look like, is it going against the wall? Does one side not matter to you and you just want to have it one-sided? You can do it that way. But for this one, I probably going to put this not against a wall, but near a wall. So one side will be less visible. Next we have 2 pieces of eucalyptus. These are very nice. They smell delicious and they're great for your sinuses. So if you have a cold, just breathe it. It helps a lot, it really does. What I want to add these in here for is for that texture, that smell, that different aesthetic that goes a long way. Everyone loves the colors of flowers, but the scent and the texture of the eucalyptus is beautiful, and the color of these is actually very beautiful. It's this beautiful like blue-green color. I've already stripped the bottom of these, but when you do strip these, you can try to use your rose strippers and just kind of pull them, but these are really, really sticky, so it's easier just to kind of pull each one off one by one. That's why I pre-stripped these, or else we'd all have very sticky fingers at the end of this today. I do it at home when I can wash my hands with like salt scrub and textured soaps to get all the resin. Alright, so anyway, looking at this one, I want these 2 to kind of come out, I think like this way, because I already have the stalk going this way. A little taller than I would like. That's probably still a little too tall. I want this to be like not a really tall arrangement, but I'd like to give it a little bit of height. Alright, here we go. That's good. And then this one I'm going to have in the same direction, more in the center, similar height, maybe a little bit taller. Not by much. This just adds a different element to the arrangement than your typical greenery and your typical flowers that makes it unique and makes it yours. If you love eucalyptus, this is just a great accent. And actually put that one down lower. Peel off some more. And we're gonna keep the leaves out of the water line, and it really makes a difference for the life of your arrangement. The less bacteria will develop without the leaves under the water, so it's really important to keep the water clear. All right, yes, yeah, I like that much better. Okay. All right, the last thing we're going to add, but before we add that, I want you all to come up and get your 2 pieces of eucalyptus. Feel free to come up and look at mine, or I can walk around and help you. All right, so moving on. Look at your arrangement. We're going to add in one more textural element. It's more of a blue color, kind of similar to the eucalyptus. This is going to add some more texture to our arrangement. This is a very textured arrangement already, but we're kind of going crazy today. I'm just going to fix one of my tulips. Feel free to remember, stuff shifts. You might have broke your tape while you were working. I do that a lot. You're just moving things around as you stick new stems in, so remember to feel free to shift things around. I'll do that here. There we go. Switch these 2. There we go, that's better. So last but not least, we're all going to get one stem of thistle. Blue thistle was a hit of the weddings last year. This was the wedding accent. Everyone wanted white roses and blue thistle. That's what I was seeing in my network. But this blue thistle is really fun. It's really a wild looking flower. It's this blue color, which you don't see that often, and it's kind of just dry looking. It looks dried out, but it is a flower. Alright, got some more light. It's getting a little dark in here. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is this blue thistle has many laterals. I'm going to cut them all off right at the base, all the way to the main stem. I'm not going to put the whole thing. This one's kind of thick. I'm not going to use that, so I'm just going to dump that in there, but I do like to save these for other things because they're really fun. They dry out really cool, so I'm going to hang on to that for now. Alright, so getting started. This is your textural filler flower. So this is to pop in all the holes that you want to hide. You can add more height if you think it will be fun to have some sticking out. I think we have a lot of height going on here with the eucalyptus and the stalk, and the tulips are going to grow. So these might be fun to be tuck in a little bit or stick them out. So just play around with it. Use each one is very different, so fill in your arrangement how you feel would be best, and come up and get your stem. Pick out whichever one you'd like. There's enough for everyone to have one, or at the end there might be some left over that you could possibly use if you need it. Alright, so I'm going to just start filling in holes, and if you want to come up and see mine and see what yours looks like compared to mine, come on over and take a look. Otherwise I'm going to just start filling in all my holes with my textural filler flower. Blue thistle is just a really beautiful nautical accent. It just really looks nice with like a nautical theme, like an ocean theme party. I'm going to put some of them in a little high, some of them down a little low. I think I like having them. Mine has more of a gap in the middle because those hydrangeas are so beautiful, so I'm going to kind of make mine more of a central thing, kind of around my tulips. But you can feel free to stick them in all the holes that you find necessary, and actually you can get more greens to fill in more holes as well. So I'm just going to keep filling in my little holes, and this side's a lot more full, so add one there. Alright. So I'm going to give my hydrangeas another spray, and I'm just going to use my hand to but the tulips actually love moisture as well. They're like a early spring flower, so roses are just sometimes sensitive to moisture because they can get fungus really easily. Bacteria. All right. So here is my beautiful spring arrangement. We have our blue thistle, which is a wonderful textural filler flower. We have our scented eucalyptus, which is great. Every time you walk by this arrangement, you're going to sniff it, and if you're sick you can really sniff it. It'll clear up your sinuses. You have some beautiful bright peach colors to draw your eye to this arrangement. Remember to spray your hydrangea every day. Add water to your arrangement as soon as you get home, and remember to keep an eye on the water level. It's easy to see. It's not so easy to see with the ribbon in here, but if you walk by and kind of move it around, you'll see where it is. So as soon as you get home, you just want to kind of lift up a side of your arrangement where you see your hydrangeas hanging over, and just add some water. Fill it right up to the top. Hydrangeas drink a lot, so this arrangement is definitely going to want more water over the next few days. So keep it hydrated. If you have like a bouquet of one flower, it's easy to take out and cut every day, but this one you're going to definitely probably want to just keep adding water because of the hydrangeas. And I'm just going to add in some greens around the base towards the bottom just to fill in any holes that you might be able to see, like the water or any stems. And you can feel free to do that if you have any spots as well. This might be where your smaller pieces come in handy, where you just strip all of the bottom and leave the top. Or you can cut another section of like laterals, kind of like this. Trim off the sides. Now I've got two. I'm going to cut the stem a little shorter at an angle, and then I can fill in the base line right here. You can kind of angle them in too, so one's facing down and one's facing up. It gives it more texture and more color of the greens throughout the arrangement. All right, so here's my spring arrangement. Thank you very much. If you have any questions or want to book a private event or want to learn more about a private event, feel free to come up and talk a little bit. We can chat a little more. If you just want to learn about flowers and you have some questions, come up. I'd love to talk. Thank you again, and you can come get one of my business cards, take a flyer. If you know anyone who's getting married and is a do-it-yourselfer, I love to do weddings, and it's so much easier to do it with a group of people who want to do it themselves than have it all on me, so I would love to do that. Teach people how to make their own. It gives them pride when they're walking down the aisle with the bouquet that they created with the help of an expert. There's nothing better than that. So if you know anyone that would love to do that, give them my business card, take some for your friends, and thanks again, and have a great night.